maybe tell me a bit more about the alphabet and where that's come from?
Well, the alphabet comes from the fact that I didn't learn in school what is belonging, and I felt if I had a roadmap, something from A to Z, bullet point one after another, that tells me how to deal with that, it would be helpful. But I didn't have it, that's why I put it together. So I can maybe go a quick round through from A to Z.
Yeah, that would be great.
And tell what each element is all about. So, letter A is for awareness and knowing self. It's important that we know who you are, because this is what we bring to others. Letter B is for bringing your whole self. It's about the roles we play in our life, and also, whether we want or not, we bring our professional work to home and our private roles to work. So they are intertwined, but we are not always that clear which one is what. So it's really about understanding our roles in any circumstances. C is for connection and bonding. So basically how we create connections, what makes us bonding, how we feel this feeling that we are connected to each other. It's a lot about hormonal cocktail, I call it also, but it's really how we connect and how we bond, how we feel connected to others. D is for being different. Yes, we are different.
Yeah.
It's not about so-called diversity, but this diversity happens every day to everybody. Everybody is different, everybody has a different experience, and we need to appreciate how different we are in order to build inclusiveness, because we can create something better if we appreciate each other's difference. Letter E is for emotion. It's really about emotional intelligence. It's not about emotions that overpower you, but being able to talk about your emotions without being overwhelmed by these emotions.
Yeah.
F is for feeling your feelings. It's something, sometimes we avoid our feelings, but once we learn how to feel our feelings, this gives us also emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
G is for grounding. It's a little bit what I showed on the picture of the tree. It's where we're coming from and how we stand on our foot and how stable we are in our life. H is for happiness, because the current studies of longitudinal studies of 70 years done by Harvard is actually telling that the source for happiness is the social connections. We thrive in happy life if we are surrounded by people who care for us.
Yeah.
It's not how much money we earn, it's not even how healthy we are. Although health, you can buy health, but you become health by being nurtured by social connections. There is two letters, I and J. They are kind of intertwined. I is for inner critic, is what we think and how we criticize ourselves in our mind. And it's about befriending your inner critic so that your inner critic is becoming your friend. And judgment and critical thinking, it's the external judgments and distancing ourselves from that judgment, but at the same time don't accept everything without criticism.
Okay.
K is for kindred spirit. It's about the second part of our life, the magic half of the apple.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be intimate. It can be just a friend that really cares for us.
Yeah.
So it's really the kindred spirit. It's not love per se, but okay. But actually the letter L is for loving self.
Okay.
And longevity is how we care about ourselves and how we find sources that nurture us. M is for mentoring. It's how many mentors we find in our life. Sometimes the mentors don't know that they are our mentors, and some mentors are positive role models, but some mentors are also the role models that we don't want to become, and that's also important to be aware of those. N is for neuroplasticity. It's how we learn and how we develop. Of course, it comes from how our brain develops. There were misconceptions, or at least that was the part of the past science, that our brain develops only up to the early 20s. But these days, the science tells us that we learn every day, and we need to be alert of that, and we need to develop also the muscle of how to learn and unlearn something that doesn't work for us anymore. There is a letter O for openness and boundaries, is how open we are and how we can set the boundaries, how we narrow and how we create a container of what works for us and what are our core values, for example. There is a P for purpose. Ideally, we need to belong to our purpose. We need to have a purpose in our life. In the past, it was very often religion, but these days, sometimes we even over-exaggerate and everybody looks for purpose. But it's important to have a purpose and to have alignment on the purpose. As much as we are different, our experiences are different, but our purpose and V for values, that's a different letter, should be aligned if we want to develop mutually building relationships.
Yeah.
So then Q, it's a tricky word. I mean, there is a tricky letter of Q. What did you do for Q?
It's true.
But it's a quality.
Okay.
But actually it's a quality of abundance and contribution. Is how we bring something to the tribe, to the environment, and how generous we are. And do we ask something in return? Sometimes we don't get immediately the return, but how much we can come from the point of generosity and give something that doesn't limit our resources.
Yeah.
There are like love you can share, and also curiosity you share. The more curious you are, the more curious you become.
Yeah, exactly.
Then it's also roots and rituals. So it's the bottom of the tree, but it's where we're coming from. S is for serendipity and curiosity and being open to the world and open for the unexpected, like be expecting the unexpected in a positive way, not being threatened by unexpected, but being safe in looking for the new circumstances and finding positive in any circumstances. It's a little bit about being pessimistic versus optimistic, but it's really about openness for new. DT is for trusted tribes. It's how we build relationships and how we find these tribes, and ideally multiple tribes. I mean, the tribe is not the family. It's a tribe that we want to belong.
Yeah.
U is for uncertainty. It's about finding an anchor in the wild world of uncertainty. V, a little bit I mentioned, is for values and compromises. How often we have to compromise sometimes our values, and maybe we don't want to. W is for wounds and traumas. It's about failures in our life and what we learn from them. X, Y, Z, it's for generations. We live in the cross-generational tribes. And how we find commonalities in the values regardless of which generations we belong.
Yeah.
But the fact that we belong to one generation doesn't mean that we are not open for the values of a different generation. And finally, Z for Zen. It's about coming home. It's about finding your peace. And sometimes doing less makes it better, and sometimes doing less is more rather than overdoing certain things. So yes, that's the alphabet from A to Z. Thank you for asking this question.
No problem. Thank you very much for sharing it with me. It was really great and insightful as
Thank
well.
you.